I got the results from yesterday's Pokemon poll. Plus, I'll give you the 3 things that I hope don't happen and the 3 things I hope do happen in this Sunday's episode of Game of Thrones. Welcome to the newest episode of SDW.
Super Dario World!
It's a me,
Dario!
Woohoo! Let's go!
The results from yesterday's poll were very interesting. But before we get into that, let me give you a quick reminder that the podcast is now officially on iTunes, so please subscribe there. You can easily find it by typing in Super Dario World Podcast in the iTunes Store search bar. If you could also rate the show there, that would be extremely helpful. Still going strong, still 5 stars. Thank you for everybody who's rating me there. It helps a lot with the rankings. But if you don't like iTunes, you can still find it on SoundCloud and YouTube. Just type in Super Dario World Podcast in the search bar, and you'll find it right there. As always, please add me on social media. You can find me on Instagram at Dario the Show. You can always contact me there with any comments, questions, or suggestions. This whole poll was done on Instagram. Well, I also got some answers on Facebook, but it was mostly Instagram. So the feedback is still great. I appreciate everybody who gives me ideas. And apparently people liked when I do the double voice. Yesterday I did a double voice, kind of talking to myself, almost like Gollum, when he talks to himself. So I may do that more in the future if the response is still positive. But okay.
Let's battle!
So I put up a poll on my Instagram yesterday, basically asking the question, what Pokemon would you choose as a pet? And the results were very interesting. Some of them were silly, some of them I really don't understand, but you can judge for yourself. I'll give you the pros and cons for everyone, but let's get into it. In grand total, we had 20 Pokemon that were selected. Well, we had more, but some of them I grouped together because if you pick a Pokemon and its evolution, then I'm going to group all them together because eventually one will lead to the other, or you got one because you got the other one. So I grouped them together. Just FYI for the future, just so you know. Anyway, so all the way at the bottom of the list, we have a 3-way tie. So number 20, 19, and 18, they all got the same. They got 0.3% of the vote. So if you add all them together, they barely get 1%. And at the bottom, we have... Okay, this one really irritated me because they just said the pink one. And I'm assuming they mean Jigglypuff, but it could be Ditto, it could be Lickitung, it could be so many freaking Pokemon, but I'm just gonna assume it's the most famous one and say it's Jigglypuff. We also have Bidoof, I hope that's how you say it, Bidoof, and Onix. So right off the bat, Onix is a terrible pick for a pet. It's too big, you have nowhere to store it. Also, it goes underground, so it's gonna do a ton of property damage everywhere. I would not pick him. It would be cool to have a giant rock snake, but not very pragmatic. Bidoof, it's like a little gopher, so it's the equivalent of having a gopher or a hamster as a pet. It's a normal type, so I can see you having that one. That's actually a reasonable pet. And Jigglypuff, I actually thought was a decent selection because if you have sleeping issues, having a Jigglypuff would be great. Anyway, they fall to the bottom of the barrel, so let's move on. The following 2, which would be 17 and 16, got 0.5%, and we have Snorlax and Celebi. Now, Snorlax is a terrible choice. The excuse they gave me is that you can, squish it, or you're going to sleep on it, use it as a big body pillow. Snorlax would eat you out of house and home. You have any idea how much you have to feed that thing? It's an insane amount of money. Insane. You would go broke trying to feed that thing. And if you don't feed it, it's going to be cranky, and it's just going to sleep most of the time. You can't really play with it. So no, terrible pick. Snorlax, terrible pick. Celebi, on the other hand, also a terrible pick. But, that's a personal thing. I can see why it's a little bit more convenient. It's a psychic. It's a grass types. It's kind of a fairy. So if you like fairies, it's cool. The problem for me is that it's the guardian of a forest. What is it? Elix Forest. So it already has a job. So if it's hanging out with you, then it's not doing its job. So either you have to move there or you have to live somewhere close or it's going to be gone most of the day. So not a good pick. Also, I'm not a big fan of psychics. Kind of weirded out by things that can read your mind. So better than Snorlax, but not surprised it landed in the bottom 5. Next, for number 15, we have Lugia, or Lugia. I don't know how you say it. I always said Lugia, but whatever. With 1% of the vote. And this one is slightly better than the other ones. It's a flying type, so you can just ride it anywhere. Problem is that it's the guardian of the seas. So, again, it has a job. You don't want a Pokemon that has a job. Also, it's a Psychic Flying type. I already mentioned how I feel about Psychic, so let's just move on. Number 14, we have Suicune, a legendary water dog type. So this was new for me. I just looked it up. I thought it was ice, but apparently it's water, which sucks because it's supposed to be an Aurora Pokemon. Anyway, way better choice than the ones before. This one would be the equivalent of having a very big, very powerful dog. So, also it can give you water whenever you want. So, better choice. It's going to be kind of hard to keep it in one place, to keep it in your yard, because it has a tendency to run away whenever it freaking wants to. But whatever. It's better. It's a better choice. Moving on to number 13, with 3% of the vote, we have Mewtwo, supposedly the most powerful Pokemon out there, unless you consider the Pokemon God, which I think is cheating, but whatever. Mewtwo, he's a Psychic Pokemon. He was created by science. Now, again, Psychics are not a great choice, and if you're based on the Mewtwo of the movie, he's way too smart. There's no way that he would be your pet. You would be his pet. He's way smarter than you. He's way more powerful. Also, kind of angry and resentful, so terrible choice. From number 12 to number 9, we have a 4-way tie, so I'll go one at a time. These all have 4%. So at the bottom, we have Mew, which is a considerably better choice over Mewtwo. If you're going for a Psychic, go for Mew. It is way nicer, way more docile, way more adorable, so it'll probably be cool with you too. So if you're picking a Psychic, go with Mew. Number 11, we have Magikarp/Gyarados. And this one, I guess, could be an interesting pick if you live near the sea, but, I mean, you can just put Magikarp in a fish tank, that'd be fine. But Gyarados is way too big. He's just way too big, and also temperamental. So even if he's cool with you, he will have issues with other people. So not the best idea to have a gigantic sea snake with anger issues living near your house. So I'd say bad idea for a pet. Number 10, we have Ditto. And this pick, let's be honest, it's the equivalent of when a genie asks you for a wish and you ask for more wishes. Stop it. You're not clever. Ditto can transform into other Pokemon, sure. So a lot of people think that, it's like having all the Pokemon. But no, Ditto can transform into the Pokemon that's in front of it, or it can transform into other Pokemon from memory, but it does get certain things wrong when it does it that way. It can also transform into humans, which is a little creepy, but whatever. The point is, kind of cheating. And if it's the only Pokemon in the world, you're kind of screwed, unless you want to transform into other humans, in which case you're kind of a weirdo. But anyway, let's move on. Number 9, we have Dragonite, also with 4%. So we had Mew, Gyarados, Magikarp, Ditto, and Dragonite with 4%. Dragonite is actually a pretty interesting pick because A, he's a dragon, and dragons are awesome. B, he's supposedly the fastest Pokemon out there. He can fly, so it's not a bad pick. Again, you'd kind of break the bank feeding it because it's a pretty big dragon and you have to feed it. And if it's a dragon, I'm assuming it's not a vegetarian. So you're going to spend a pretty penny feeding it, but for the amount of money you're going to save on gas and transportation in general and walking around with a fucking dragon, okay. Also, it seems to have a pretty good temper. It's really powerful, but it has a really good temper. So, okay, decent choice. Fair number 9. On number 8, with 5% of the vote, we have Ninetales/Vulpix, the Firefox. And I'm going to add this one here. They didn't specify, so I'm going to assume it also includes the Alola version, which is basically the same thing except the being a Firefox, it's an Ice Fox. I'm going to include them because I think it's the most beautiful character design in all Pokemon. I'm going to stand by that one. It's a beautiful Snow White Ice Fox. Look at it. Look at the design. Put Alola region Vulpix or Ninetales on Google right now and check out how they look. They're beautiful. When I was in Japan, I saw a ton of stuffed animals and images of this Alola Vulpix. They're beautiful. I had to buy a little one just because, this is the most beautiful Pokemon. I need to bring one back to America with me because it's just the best design. I need to have one of these. So, like I said, look it up. The most beautiful character design. It would be the equivalent of having a fox, which is kind of like having a slightly more aggressive dog. But if you remember in the show, Vulpix is very docile, very sweet. The only issue you'd probably had is with its coat, but foxes are generally pretty good with grooming themselves. Also, ask Brock, total chick magnets. So, great pick. Should have been higher. In my opinion, it should have been higher, but solid number 8. Then number 7, we have Hunter, Ghastly, Gengar. So, I don't particularly like these ones because they're ghost-type Pokemon and poison. So, those are two things you kind of don't want around. You don't want poison and you don't want ghosts. I don't like ghosts in general. I feel like they'd be playing tricks on me and there's nothing I can do to them. So I don't like it. A lot of people like them. They came in with 6% of the votes. So also, in order to get a Gengar, you need to trade it. And I don't like the idea of getting a traded Pokemon. I've never enjoyed trading Pokemon because I don't know, I feel like they're mine. I feel like if I evolve them, cool. But if I get them by trade, it feels like a betrayal or like cheating. I don't appreciate it as much. So personally, I wouldn't like it. I can see why people think it's convenient to have a ghost around because you can hide it anywhere. You don't really have to feed it. So there's a lot of pros and cons. If you want to play pranks on people, perfect Pokemon to do it with. Also, it's a natural counter to any psychics. So I see the benefits of it. I just don't like it. But okay, let's move on to number 6. Here we have Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. I don't get it. I've never liked Bulbasaur. Out of the 3 original starters, he's the worst one to me, personally, because I don't like frogs. And it's like having a frog with a plant on its back. So, honestly, I think if most people saw them in the real world, they'd be grossed out. But some people love them. Some people are diehard Bulbasaur fans. But again, some people like frogs, some people like reptiles. So, to each their own. I would not pick him because it's plant poison. And again, I don't like the idea of having poisonous things near me. So, not a great pick. Way too high. It got 6% of the vote as well. So, Bulbasaur and its evolutions plus Ghastly and its evolutions both got 6% each. So, I guess 12% of the population like poison types. Who knew? Anyway, let me do a quick recap because we reached the top 5. So, tied at 20, 19, and 18, we have Onix, Bidoof, and Jigglypuff with 0.3% of the vote each. Then we have tied for 17 and 16, Snorlax and Celebi with 0.5% of the vote each. Then we have at number 15, Lugia with 1% of the vote. Number 15, Suicune with 2% of the vote. Number 13, Mewtwo with 3% of the vote. Then tied at 12, 11, 10, and 9, we have Mew, Magikarp Gyarados, Ditto, and Dragonite with 4% of the vote each. At number 8, we have Ninetales / Vulpix with 5% of the vote. And tied for number 7 and 6, we have Hunter, Gengar, Ghastly, and Bulbasaur, Ivysaur, Venusaur. So, okay. That's how things stand right now. Let's move on to the top 5. Here's where things get interesting because for number 5, with 8% of the vote, we have Growlithe / Arcanine. And this is stunning because it's the closest one to having a gigantic dog out there that shoots fire. So it's like a giant dog the size of a polar bear pretty much that kind of looks like a tiger. I don't know how it fell so much. Number 5. I guess top 5 is decent, but still. Oof. Imagine riding one of those things to school, to work. It'd be great. The only knock I put on Arcanine is that imagine that thing shedding hair. Oh my freaking God. It would be hair everywhere. I have American Akitas. They shed hair like crazy, and they reach a little bit higher than my knee, maybe a little bit bigger. Let's say closer to my hip. So a dog that's bigger than me, oh my God, it would shed like crazy. So that's the only reason why I would not pick it as my pet, but I'm surprised because, again, it's a big dog. I'm surprised more people don't want a big dog. But anyway, 8%. Let's move on to number 4. With 10% of the vote, we have Pikachu / Raichu, which is also a stunner. The most famous mouse in the world fell all the way to number 4. And if you listened to the podcast yesterday, I did explain that Pokemon is the highest grossing franchise in the world. So Pikachu and not Mickey is the most famous mouse in the world right now. So I guess suck on that, Disney. Anyway, this is stunning. A lot of people love Pikachu. He's the face of the franchise. I'm shocked that he didn't get any higher, and that was not a pun. But number 4, I guess this is the knock on electric types that you'd get shocked whenever you want to pet him or something, or it could shock you just for fun. So I get it. Also, Pikachu was kind of a dick the first time Ash got him. I understand. Can be a little temperamental. Also, it's kind of tiny. It's not really that powerful. I get it. I understand. I would not pick it. Personally, if this were my list, I would put him way, way lower. But I'm stunned that the most popular one, I think that if you ask most people, they probably only know Pikachu for sure. So this was surprising. Anyway, moving on to number 3, with 12% of the vote, we have Eevee and all its evolutions. Now, I understand why it's number 3. Personally, it would have been my number 1 because Umbreon and Jolteon are my favorite 2 Pokemons. I always suffer trying to pick which one I'm going to evolve my Eevee into. Because, the first Eevee is the one that counts. After you breed them and you get more, it's not the same. Which is the first one. The first one's the one that counts, at least to me. And so I always suffer between Jolteon and Umbreon. The only reason why Umbreon wins out, also, again, when I was in Japan, I suffered deciding, what am I going to get? If I'm going to get like a little Umbreon doll, because they had an Eevee that's wearing kind of like a costume of a Jolteon and a hoodie that's also a costume of an Umbreon. They were great. And I was like, which one am I going to get? And my kid brother was like, just get them both, you idiot. And I had to get both. I couldn't decide. Anyway, so the only reason why Umbreon wins out is because of what I just explained with Pikachu. Electric types do not seem that great to have as a pet. Like, I can't imagine a Jolteon just sitting on my lap. I feel like its spikes would be hurting me, or it would shock me, or my hair would be a mess because it would always be standing because I'm always going to be near its static. Umbreon, on the other hand, it can hide in my shadow. It could offer me protection from psychics and ghosts, which really freak me out. So there's a lot of advantages. Also, in order to get an Umbreon, that means that my Eevee really has to love me. So there would already be a bond there. So to me, that would be my number one, but it'd fall all the way to number 3. So this just shows you that people are stupid. Well, not so stupid. It's top 3. Top 3 is decent. Yeah, I think it's decent. The only problem is trying to pick which one you're going to get. But still, it's the most versatile option. Okay? I think Eevee's the most versatile option. I feel we can agree there. Anyway, moving on to number 2 with 13% of the vote, we have Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise. This one I can get. Most people have pets that are turtles. Blastoise would be really cool to have. You can surf around in it. It's a tank. You'd feel like, you're always protected. The only problem is that, again, feeding it, that thing is huge. Huge. But it'd be cool. Most of us have had turtles growing up, so we kind of know the basics. If you live near water, that'd be way better. So, I mean, I live in San Diego, so it'd be perfect to have some kind of Blastoise. I could go out surfing with it. It'd be great. So, decent choice. Also, it's one of the original 3. I can see why people love it. And also, Squirtle with the sunglasses is way too cool. So, fun personality. It's convenient. You can do fun stuff with it. I get it. I understand it. Reasonable number 2, but to me, he would not be. Anyway, number 1. With 16% of the vote, so 3% higher than Blastoise, we have, shocking, Charmander, Charmeleon, and Charizard. So the most popular Pokemon out there is also the most popular pet. Now, I've said this before, I love Charizard. As a starter, I always pick Charizard. He's the best, he's the coolest, he's a fucking dragon. I don't care what anybody says. No, he's fire flying. He's a fucking dragon, okay? Shut the fuck up. We all know what a dragon looks like. Actually, I think there's a video online. I don't remember what the video is called, but they're having this conversation. It's like, well, it's because I'm a dragon. Dragons are awesome. It's like, no, you're not even a dragon. You're like fire flying. It's like, all right, well, what do I look like? Well, you look kind of like a lizard with wings. You just described a dragon. It's great. So, yeah, we know what a dragon looks like, okay? It's a fucking dragon. And for the longest time, Charizard was my favorite Pokemon. He's the coolest. He's the coolest. He's awesome. And I remember the last episode I ever saw of Pokemon was the episode that Ash gave Charizard up. I was like, I am done. You're a fucking dumbass, Ash. Why the fuck would you give up your fucking to their most fucking powerful Pokemon that took down a fucking Dragonite? You're an idiot. Anyway, so I had issues with the show after that. I think that's the last episode that I watched. I couldn't take it anymore. It was rough before, him just giving up every single powerful Pokemon he had, but that one was unforgivable for me. Do you guys even remember the first episode that Charmander showed up? He was sitting in a log waiting for its trainer to return. So his trainer abandoned him because he wanted to go get a stronger Pokemon because he thought he was too weak. So he just kept sitting there waiting for the trainer to return. It started raining, so it was getting sick because its tail can't get wet. It was brutal. Anyway, the only knock I have on Charmander, Charizard, Charmeleon is that their tail's always on fire, so you have to be careful where you put it. Because imagine it just suddenly turns around and your curtains are on fire. That'd be a big issue. So having it inside would be a big issue. And I live in California, so having it outside, it would be a big issue too because there's always wildfires here. We're always in danger of a wildfire. Well, not right now. Right now, it's raining, but you get the point. Convenience-wise, it would just not be convenient for me. And I don't think a lot of people thought about this when they picked Charizard. I get it. Super cool. Dragon. It could fly you places. Also, it's a fucking dragon. But I would go with a more pragmatic choice, which Charizard certainly is not. So to recap the top 5, number 5 we have Arcanine Growlithe with 8% of the vote. Number 4, we have Pikachu Raichu with 10% of the vote. Number 3, we have Eevee and all its evolutions with 12% of the vote. Number 2, we have Squirtle, Wartortle, Blastoise with 13% of the vote. And number 1, we have Charmander, Charmeleon, Charizard with 16% of the vote. So there you go. Not my list, people. Not my list. I just made the poll, typed down the answers, and gave you my opinions and all the picks. Not me. If you don't like this list, yell at yourself. You could have voted on my poll. It was on my Instagram, @Dario the Show. If you don't like the results, be mad at yourself. I did my part. I just read the report, okay? I just read the fucking report. I didn't even include my vote in this. So there you go. And I don't think it was that bad. I mean, I was shocked that nobody really picked Meowth or Persian because they could steal people's money or give you free money. But still, people's choice. They picked. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that. I certainly had a lot of fun reading all the comments and checking out each people's logic for picking each one. So it was fun. Hopefully you enjoyed that. But let's move on to Game of Thrones. So episode 5 of the last season of Game of Thrones will air this Sunday. And this is the second to last episode of the season, which means it's usually the dreaded episode. It's called the dreaded episode because in Game of Thrones, usually in the second to last episode of each season, it's when the big shocker happens. So I have to make shocker predictions. So here are the 3 things that I hope do happen and the 3 things that I hope don't happen in this episode of Game of Thrones. Let's start with the positive. So first off, I want 2 characters to die. Number 1, I want Tyrion to die because he should have died at the end of last episode. We saw, in that same episode, Cersei send Bronn to kill him, and he betrayed her. But she sent an assassin to kill him. So why, when he was right in front of her, in the range of the archers, in the range of the ballistas, did she not kill him? It makes no sense, and I get it. This show forgets things that happened in previous seasons, but this happened a few scenes before! Jesus Christ! Anyway, so number 1 on my wish list for... Also, Tyrion should have died so many times before. So many times before. I can go through them, but it would take a really long time. The dude has had a lot of plot armor protecting him. Also, if you kill off Tyrion, then maybe Daenerys will be able to use a valid military strategy. Because this whole separating your army and starving out the people of King's Landing is very stupid. And it's not going to work. You want to know how I know it's not going to work? Because we saw them do it the previous season. And you know what happened? Euron Greyjoy destroyed her fleet. And you know what happened this time? Euron Greyjoy destroyed her fleet. So the point is, it's a very stupid strategy. They did it last time, it didn't work. They did it again this time, and it's not working. You know what the definition of insanity is? Trying the same thing over and over again and expecting the results to change. So Daenerys is clearly insane. The problem is that Tyrion, Varys, and everybody else who keeps giving her advice are also insane. Also, I don't understand how it's very kind to the people to starve them out instead of just, I don't know, hitting the top of the castle each night with your fucking dragon. Anyway, so that's the first person I want to see dead. Number 2 person on my kill list would be Arya. Now, I don't understand why nobody suggested sending Arya, the super assassin faceless man, to go and kill Cersei. I mean, we know that Varys and Tyrion know that there's tunnels in the castle, and Varys in particular knows how to navigate them, so you would think that sending a faceless man who just killed the Night King through the secret tunnels of the city would be easy peasy, right? But no, apparently nobody's thought of that. And Arya thought of just going to King's Landing by herself, or at least we assume that's where she's going. Anyway, this is how I think it's going to go. Arya is going to sneak in. She's going to try to kill Cersei, but she's going to get captured. And all because they're going to show that, Cersei did what the Night King couldn't do. She caught him, which means that she's more dangerous than the Night King. That's how I see it going, because they fucked up by killing the Night King, the real big bad in the show, and now they just have a crazy drunk woman as the big bad of the show. A crazy drunk woman whose every single plan she's ever made failed. And I mean blew up in her face epically. But we can go through her failures some other time. Anyway, so I hope those 2 die, because if Arya gets captured and she doesn't get killed, I'll be pissed. So those 2, I want them gone. Anyway, number 2 of the things that I hope do happen on this episode, I want Jaime Lannister to show, because right now we don't know what Jaime's going to do. So I want him to show up in King's Landing and kill Cersei. And then I want Euron to kill Jaime, because I want Euron to either survive or win. I like Euron. And I had this conversation with my kid brother the other day. Euron has a track record of victory The dude has got the most accomplished record on this show. Every single thing he set his mind to doing, he's accomplished. He wanted to be the King of Pike. Boom. King of Pike. He won the King's Moot. Then he's like, all right, I'm going to build the largest fleet in the world. Boom. He built the largest fleet in the world. Then he's like, I want to bang the queen. Boom. He bangs the queen. Then he's like, I'm going to destroy my enemy's fleet. Boom. He destroys the enemy's fleet. Then he's like, I'm going to kill a dragon. Boom. He kills a dragon. So I like the guy. So he has a history of success, and I think he's earned it. Honestly, I like him. And fuck everybody else. So either he kills Jaime after Jaime kills Cersei, or he just captures him and takes him as his prisoner, as his pet. Kind of like what Ramsay did to Theon. I think that'd be a fitting end to Jaime Lannister, because, the dude's a psycho who bangs his sister. Anyway, the number 3 of the things that I hope happen on the next episode of Game of Thrones is that I hope that Varys does betray Daenerys. And now, I get it. I complained about this before. This is one of the things that I wanted to happen since before the season started. I said this is one of the things that I want to happen during the season. Varys betraying Daenerys. But, like I've mentioned before, Game of Thrones has a way of giving me what I want in the worst way possible. I wanted him to do it because he had a bigger plan. It was a scheme, because he's a schemer. Now they're trying to do it because Daenerys is crazy, but I don't understand Varys' sudden change of heart. They're trying to make it a change of heart thing, like, oh, he's concerned that she's too wild, too strong, too crazy. She is crazy, okay? Let's get that out of the way. Daenerys is crazy, but I don't really see what she's done lately that makes her crazier than before. Before she used to burn prisoners just because they didn't want to kneel. That's crazy. That is madness. But now she's actually conceding to what they want to do. Right? She's listening to her advisors. They're like, she wants to go and do the reasonable military strategy. Let's just take them down now. People are going to die anyway. And they're like, no, let's wait because we need to save the people. The people. Weird. Every single general ever would just attack, but whatever. They don't. They want to prolong the war because prolonging wars is usually better for the common folk. Anyway, she listened to them. She wants to do something else, but she actually listened. So I don't get the sudden change of heart. So unfortunately, I already committed to this. Varys betraying her. I don't like the reasons. I think the reasons are stupid. They already had more than enough reasons before. But apparently, Varys saw a change of heart in Daenerys, which made no sense. But whatever. As long as he does it, I'll be okay. So those are the top 3 things that I hope happen. The death of Tyrion and Arya. Euron either winning or surviving after Jaime kills Cersei, and he either kills or captures Jaime. Varys betraying Daenerys. And, okay, let's move on to the things that I hope don't happen. First off, the one thing that I hope doesn't happen anymore is that they keep pushing the Daenerys-Jon conflict anymore. It is a non-issue. Get it out of here. It's stupid. I don't get why this entire season is based around it. It's retarded. The only way I'll accept this is if it was all a plan from Bran to break them up and to kind of like cause conflict there to make it easier for the Children of the Forest to take over. I doubt that's going to happen. It's too complex. They don't have enough episodes to show it, unless at the very end they just show, a creature with blue eyes waking up in the Land of Always Winter when Tormund and Ghost are exploring. That's the only way that I'll accept it, because it makes sense why Bran would tell Jon. Other than that, I don't get it. Also, while I'm talking about Bran, why don't they use him? The dude can warg into pretty much anything. Why doesn't he scout for them? Why doesn't he team up with Arya to be like, okay, I'll go into some crows, and, he could just peck her eyes out, but whatever, and I'll find out exactly where she is in the castle, and I'll guide you so that you can show up sneakily and kill her. But no, that'd be too easy. Just sending a kick-ass assassin would be too easy, especially if he's being guided by basically God. We need to go with the option that's, a big military invasion that will prevent more people from getting killed, right? Because killing Cersei won't just stop everything, right? Because that's the big issue, right? Anyway, so yeah, I hope that conflict ends. Just get married or kill one of them off. Do either. Well, you know what? Kill both of them and make Gendry the king. That'd be better. Anyway, number 2, I hope we don't see another ridiculous military strategy. And I'm worried because in the trailer, I saw the Lannister army outside of the walls. Stop putting armies outside of your fucking walls. Walls are meant to save your armies, okay? If you have the stronger military precision inside the castle, you would not fight them in the field. That's just stupid. Unless you were desperate. But anyway, so I hope we don't see another ridiculous military strategy. And the number 3 thing that I hope doesn't happen in the next episode of Game of Thrones is that I hope that Daenerys doesn't just redeem herself. So, again, all the build-up that they've made on the episode before was for nothing. If Daenerys all of a sudden proves herself or shows that she's not crazy. Because, Tyrion did say the thing of, I have faith in her. So they're going to show that his face was well-placed, and Varys is going to believe her, and Jon's going to believe her, and everybody's going to be like, oh, yay, Daenerys, yay, everybody's going to bend the knee. I don't want that. Preferably, I want her dead, but I can see why they wouldn't kill her off this episode. They'll probably wait for the next one if they do it. But I don't want it to be a whole redemption thing, because the bitch is crazy. Keep her crazy. Make her crazier. Make her stop listening to her advisors. If you're going to make her unhinged, make her unhinged. Just don't do the whole redemption thing. It makes no sense. Also, it would make the whole entire season pointless. At least her storyline, pointless. Jesus Christ. Anyway, so those are the top 3 things I hope don't happen, and I'll go through it again. 1, I don't want Daenerys to be redeemed. Well, actually, that's number 3, but whatever. 2, I don't want them to have a ridiculous battle strategy. I want them to have a legit battle strategy. That way they will be more interesting to see. And 3, I want them to end the Daenerys-Jon conflict. It's stupid. It makes no sense. It needs to die. Anyway, that's it for this week. I hope you enjoyed the results of the poll. I found it fun. I'm enjoying the whole poll thing. I'm not going to do it that much. I'll do it sporadically when something big comes out. As a reminder, Detective Pikachu comes out, so if you go and see it, let me know. I'll try my best to see it this weekend. And on Monday, I will be back with my review of the next episode of Game of Thrones in The Good, the Bad, and the Martin. So, as always, if you want to contact me with any comments, questions, or suggestions, at Dario the Show on Instagram. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week.